Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Camilla.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
Today we're taking a look at the Crew family adventure. The Crew Deep Sea Adventure, I think it's called, and the Crew Mission to Planet 9 are very popular trick-taking games. So this is the kids one, and this one is... So the other two games are based on trick-taking games, a cooperative version of that with limited communication. This one is based on Uno.
Kind of, yeah. It's more like sequencing things together than it is.
Crazy 99 or whatever you might do that on. So let's go over that, and we'll be right back. This game revolves around a deck of 21 cards, and you can actually see the cards on this board here. This board kind of helps you know what cards are in the deck, and you're going to be playing missions. You'll start with Chapter 1 and go all the way up to, I believe, 35 different chapters. There's a story involved, but what you're trying to do in this game is play a certain number of cards. So you'll see at the beginning you need to play 4 cards, but eventually you'll need to play a grid of 12 cards. You also might have to play some specific cards. So in this case, I need to play Titania and Snake, and I'll put some markers on those to show that I need to play those. Each person will get one special card that lets you kind of break the rules of the game. That will be dealt to you at the beginning of a round. And then the game begins. On a player's turn, they play a card, and it's very similar to Uno. If I play a 5, the next person has to play another pink, or they have to play a card that's the same number. So maybe someone else would play blue 5, and then the next person plays Snake, hooray! And the next person plays Titania, because blue follows blue. We've completed the mission, which is good, because we were only allowed to play 4 cards. That's what this marker over here means on this. You put it here to show how many cards you can play. Now, when you're playing cards, if you don't want to play a card, or you can't follow the number or the color, then you turn over a hammock. You can pass. And the number of hammocks that you have, it will show you in the mission how many that you will have. In fact, one of the hammocks is lucky. If you draw the seashell, you'll get another special card. Remember those special cards? Like this one lets me play a color card. It's 1 or 2 diagonally from the last card. Or I can trade a card with someone. And that's kind of the game. That first one's not too hard. You just got to play something, switch to blue, and then do 6 and 7. As long as the same person doesn't have both. But if the same person has both cards, then everyone else can pass till we get back to them. Or use a special ability. But eventually, you might have to play a certain card second. Or you can't play a certain card. Or you can't play a color. There will be different restrictions on the mission. And you either win or lose each mission together. And you can play them over as many times as you want. I also should have mentioned a very important part. You have those communication chips. You can show one card from your hand at any point during the game, and that's the only time you can really communicate with each other.
And it's just show. It's not like highest, lowest, or any of that
Right.
stuff. It's
No, just
straight
show.
up. Yeah, this is a card I have.
Yeah.
The game has a theme.
As much as the other ones do.
Yeah, but well, you would think it would matter more. And when I was playing it with my family, we read through the first few paragraphs, and after that, everyone was like, we don't care.
Right.
They really didn't care about the story. It's a very Goonie-esque story, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but we just did not care. The gameplay did not match the theme much at all, I found.
I think the struggle with these type of games in general with the story is that you get them in such tiny little increments that it's hard to follow what's going on. So like I sat down and I read some of it, and I was like, okay, if you actually flow from one chunk to another, it creates a story and it's a little adventure and that's cool. But like reading a tiny little bit and it's like, oh, I went here. He was cute. Play a game. Like now we're going to spend 20 minutes playing.
But that's the thing, though. That's not how it is. We played Dragon Eclipse earlier, and we read a paragraph, and then we fought a battle that was 30, 45 minutes. Here you read a paragraph that might take a minute or two to read, and then you play a game that might take a minute to play.
Yeah, that's true.
The reading is longer than the game.
It is. And I think if you're playing through the campaign with your family, you do get the whole kind of overarching story. You get a little more involved in the story. And I found that to be true for the original to games of the crew as well. But kind of to Wendy's point, like if you jump in and just play, you know what, we want to play a medium difficult game. Let's jump into number 23 tonight or number 19. If you're just jumping in for that standalone kind of game, you're just playing a game. There is no theme. However, I think the simplistic artwork in this does help with that, where it does feel like there is a setting to it, but not a lot of theme as you go through and play. I really like that they did streamline and simplify the art. I think the art direction is very on point for the age range that's going to play this.
Speaking of age range, I do feel like the story is a little more that preteen level and less the kid level, because they talk about like, oh, I think he's cute. Oh, I think he has a crush on him. Like all that kind of stuff that, I don't know, are 8-year-olds thinking about that?
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm not even sure the 8+ is accurate. It's almost lower than that.
It does feel lower. Yeah.
And I mean that in a good way, in a sense. It's teaching you, like the whole grid you have out there that shows you with the same color, same numbers. That's not 100% necessary. And if I was playing with adults, I would almost say we can't use the grid because it would make it more challenging. But you can say, oh, if I play a 7, I can also play this 7 or this color. And you could see which cards have already been played because they're in the grid. And you can try to work out what's in other people's hands. While if you're playing, again, the crew, for example, cards that you play are discarded. You just have to remember what cards have been played.
Right. I think that's where the big difference comes from it as well, is when you have that little token out there that shows what the last card was. Yes, you can see the column and the row that you can play on, but it also gives you a frame of reference for those special cards. Like there's one that allows you to play anything on the diagonal from what was just played. And so I think for a kid, that visual representation is really important.
Oh, no,
and so
I
I'm glad
agree.
it's there.
I think it also helps with the planning ahead, because if you're like, okay, I have to play a blue card next, but only these numbers are available, and I know this one has already been played. Like, I think that even for me, it's useful for some of those like harder missions where you're planning ahead and you know it has to be sequenced correctly.
Yeah.
The playtime on here says 15 minutes. It's a little weird to say that because I don't think anybody is ever going to get this out, set it up, play it, and be done. You got to play more. I mean, because it
Yeah.
could go that fast. It might be like you need to play, like mission 1 is play 4. Actually, I think missions 1 through 8 or 9 are play
just
4 cards.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you play card, play card, play card, done. Or we messed up, okay, start over, and now we're done. I wish it was, this one I think could have benefited from more standalone stuff.
I agree. I think so. Especially, I think that would help differentiate between the different ages that you're going to play with. Are you going to play with your 6-year-old? I think that's quite possible in some of those early missions. Some of those middle missions, and especially the late, no. And so I think having more standalones that were more categorized. If you
By
want a
age.
5-minute playtime, if you want this age range, if you really specializing in 4 players versus the 2 players, something like that I think would have benefited as going more rather than a stream of them, actually put them in categories.
The benefit of the stream is that it progressively teaches skills little by little. So
Sure.
I can
Yeah.
see that that's where they're going for is, and I think the crew does that too, right? You start out uber simple, like I've never played a trick-taking game before, and then progressively you move forward.
But with the crew, and we're comparing it to the adult one a lot, but we are, with the crew, mission 4 or 5, I forget which one it is, there's one that you hand out a certain number of cards, and then you play. And I could play that one 30 times in a row.
Yeah.
Because the cards will be different every time, and it's a different way to play. The repetition here is not the same. There's less play in this box because of that, I think.
That's true, because they're
Once you
defined
beat
cards.
it, you're not going to be like, let's play it again. I mean, yes, the cards you get will be different. So I'm sounding negative on this. We did enjoy it, but I need to figure out would I recommend buying it. So what do you all think?
I'm going to give this a 6. I feel like there's a big disconnect for me from the age that it feels like playing wise and the age of the story. And I get that it's supposed to cover a whole family. So I guess if you have like a big age range that you want to play this with, then there might be a little bit for everybody. But each individual scenario doesn't feel like that's the case. And I think that that's the struggle. The story may feel that way, but the individual scenarios. So I'm giving this a 6. I feel like it's fine, but if I want to teach this kind of deduction and these kind of skills to a child, I would rather play a different deduction game, something else that is a little bit more at that level and then doesn't have the... I don't know. Part of it's just my kid's age, I think. She's getting past this. But yeah, I definitely... For me, this is just okay.
I think you say your kid's age, and I think my child, for reference, is older than your kid, but this is very much on par with where he would be.
Okay.
And so I think it's not necessarily just age, but you have to know your kid, right? And you have to know your family situation. Yeah. My kid is not a gamer, and I'm not trying to make him a gamer, but this is one that is going to help him feel like he can participate in a game without needing to bring all that stuff that you would expect out of a 12-year-old. You know, that he can sit down, he doesn't have to. He can visually see the board. I can play this or this. Okay, I got that. He's going to need those little cues. And I think that this does a really good job providing that for him. I think that it having the range and spectrums of how long the playtime is, how complicated we want it to be, the variation, just like the other crews, there's a lot of variation in the different missions and things. I think that stuff is all very well handled. So for me, I'm going to come in at an 8. I have a hard time going more than that because, like you were saying, Tom, I don't know the legs of this game, but I could definitely see him. I think I probably would have started with him at about age 10, and I could probably take it for another year or so from now, you know. Okay. But again, that's coming from a non-gamer family perspective. And also as an adult, I don't mind sitting down and playing this. I thought that it reminded me enough about the crew that I was getting into it. And there were a couple times that I had to puzzle, be like, okay, how can we make this work? And yeah, especially in the 2-player variant, I think is a great way to introduce that to a kid who maybe isn't a gamer, because they can start to see those connections. You know, you can, if you are playing it's called Jarvis, and the other one, what's it called in this
the computer player?
Ghost. It's called Ghost. Yeah, it's called Ghost. If you're playing Ghost as well, you can be like, okay, I'm going to play this card because I see that they have this. So you're kind of showing that as well. And I just think that's, for my situation, this is a really good fit for that. So for me, it's an 8.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me because I like a lot about it. I like the idea of it. I like cooperative Uno. I think that's an interesting thing. And my family enjoyed it, but they're not here. And I think when I say my family, I think the youngest two enjoyed it. The other ones were not as interested. But I don't know. I'm giving it a 6.5. It's close for me. But I just can't get over the bite-sized nature of it. It's like eating one potato chip. You got to eat a few. And it's just weird. Sometimes we'll play a game. We're like, wow, we just played that game in a minute.
Yeah.
That's really short. And that's fine and all. But then we got to set up for the next game. And it's just weird that setup sometimes takes longer than the game. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good things about this game. And I can see this. It's also not marketed really as a kid's game. It's marketed as family adventure. Mm-hmm. But I think it leans closer to being a kid's game. Yeah, you can play with adults and everything, but I don't know that I would play this over, say, Bomb Busters or something along that line, which is more of a family game. Yeah, you can if you play in the lower levels. It's not bad. It's definitely not a dumbed-down version of Crew. It's different.
Yeah.
It is different, and it doesn't teach those trick-taking skills. So if that's your goal, is to like start your kid off into trick takers, this is not it at all.
True. This is a very different game. I would just play the Crew on the lowest level for a while. That's what I would do.
I think this teaches the deduction skills that come before trick-taking.
Yeah.
You know?
And I do agree with Bomb Busters. I feel like that's a little bit more cutesy welcoming, and maybe that's just my style and my
that's true, right?
You know what I mean? But and it is interesting because I know from my perspective, with our daughter, we've played a lot of like the Crew, and we've played the Lord of the Rings trick-taking game. And so if you feel like your kid is at that level and they can do that, the interest in this might not be there.
I agree.
We can start halfway through too, I guess. But
yeah, that's fair.
Well, there you go, folks. That's the Crew Family Adventure. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Camilla.
And I'm Wendy Yee.
See you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.